on the screen. I'm going to put myself in the bottom corner here just so you can see most of it while we're going. All right. So, the title today is Thoughts Become Patterns. Thoughts Become Patterns. And we're working on day 2 of how our mind works. We're going to talk about the science of it a little bit, as well as some things that we can do to make sure that our brains are working the way that we've intended to, and the way that God has designed them to be able to do. So the verse is take every thought captive. Take every thought captive. In 2 Corinthians 10:5, we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. God, teach me to recognize my patterns, and what I allow to come into my mind. Repeated thoughts don't stay thoughts, they become patterns, and then patterns shape what our identity is. Yesterday I talked about if you were to say to yourself every day, I'm no good, I'm no good, I'm no good. Those same thoughts that we're talking about don't just continue to say thought, it's a pattern. And now, because we'll talk about it later this week, our reticular activating system that goes out and finds the things that we say that will then contribute to our belief system. And so when we think about the belief system of if I start a pattern in my mind of what I am, and that's why we do our affirmations, then our mind actually goes out and finds ways to confirm those thoughts. And if those thoughts are negative thoughts, or those thoughts don't serve us in any way, our brain still goes out because it can only know what you tell it to know. It goes out and finds. So if you say, I'm no good, I'm no good, I'm no good, and then your brain now thinks that's a pattern. Now, everything that's not good, or everything that you're not good at, or everything you make a mistake at, now you reaffirm that I'm no good. And you keep that pattern, and then that shapes your identity, and your identity ultimately becomes and says, I'm no good. Now, on the same token, you say those same thoughts and say, hey, I'm amazing, I'm amazing, I'm amazing, I'm amazing. Now your brain goes out and it looks for ways that you are amazing. And every time you do something that's amazing, every time that you go out and you serve somebody, every time that you do something that is that good, now that pattern has been formed, and your identity is your belief that you're amazing. Some people that, that's, a part of our sickness and part of our body not staying healthy is the things that we say about our body. Not only just the things we put in our body, but our mind's belief about our body. If you say that you're hurting all the time, all this hurts, this hurts, this hurts, this hurts, this hurts, all of a sudden your brain looks for every time your body, my knee hurts, my knee hurts, my knee hurts. Now every time your knee just does a little bit and shoots a little bit of, that reaffirms it, and all of a sudden now you have pain that you cannot stop concentrating on. And there's other ways as our minds begin our thoughts. Hey, I'm doing the things that make my name, and part of even taking some medicine. And I'm not saying that like when you take a Tylenol or you take a Advil or you take some ibuprofen, the things that you're taking into your body, I'm not saying they don't work, but they work better when your mind says, oh, I only need, after I take this 20 minutes later, I feel great. 20 minutes later, I feel great. That pattern becomes the identity. In 20 minutes, the feel actually starts working. Or have you ever heard somebody say this stuff never works, but I take it anyways? This stuff never works. Because it does work a little bit because it's designed for the chemicals that are in your body to be able to do some stuff. But then they no matter what, it'll never work because they believe it doesn't work. So repeated thoughts don't stay thoughts. They become patterns, and patterns shape identity. Someone who consistently thinks I'm behind begins to act with the purpose. I'm always late. You ever heard somebody say that? I'm always late, I'm always late, I'm always late. And then all of a sudden, if their goal is not to be late, but they always say that they're late, they're going to be late. Because their mind, that pattern, that identity is who they are. Right? So the story, there was a time when I didn't realize how often certain thoughts were running in the background of my mind. They weren't loud, but they were consistent thoughts like, you should be further along. You ever said that to yourself? Oh my gosh, it's a terrible thing to say. Because you can never catch up, right? If you're always saying, I should be further along, you're speaking into existence that somehow where you are right now, you feel like I'm not, I should be. And what are you usually doing? You are comparing to somebody else who has a whole different set of circumstances. So instead of saying I'm further along than I believe I should be even, or I'm so blessed and so grateful for my life, You're always thinking there's something that you can never catch up to. So if that's something that you're saying to your mind, and that's a thought I should be further along, take it out of your thought process, right? You're not doing enough is another one I say. You're over and over and over. Those thoughts started shaping how I showed up. And I used to say that I should be further along. I felt rushed, I felt pressured, never satisfied. When I finally slowed down enough to hear what I was telling myself, it was so eye opening. Those thoughts were not true, but I had practiced them so long that they felt real. Awareness changed everything. And now I never say that to myself, I should be further along. No, I should be right where I'm supposed to be in order for God to do exactly what He wants to do in my life. Right? One of our affirmations, I am right where I am supposed to be, knowing that God is going to do whatever He needs to do for me. And we'll have that in our affirmation today, right? So the mind insight here is your brain uses something called automaticity. Automaticity, all right? Auto-M-A-T-I-C-I-T-Y. It tries to make repeated thoughts automatic to conserve energy. Like our brain is using all the energy for our day, and my mind is so tired because it keeps thinking all day long, right? So it tries to automate, just like we try to do in our systems, like you see robots do. When you think of automation, you think of do. Well, the thoughts you have in your mind, your brain is the best automator of all time. The brain that God gave us, the brain that He created us with, knows how to make things automatic. When have you ever thought about making your heart beat? When have you ever thought of making your lungs breathe? When have you ever thought of your skin and everything else in your systems that you have to do something to make them work? And they don't just work for a day. Years and years and years, I've never thought about trying to make my heart beat. Not once have I ever had to do it. So your brain knows how to do things automatically. So it tries to make repeated thoughts automatic to conserve its energy. That means you think something enough times, your brain stops questioning it and it starts accepting it as the default truth. This is why unchallenged thoughts become beliefs. Capturing a thought interrupts that automatic loop and gives you a chance to choose differently. So you have the ability to change it. We just have to be so careful and guard our minds with what is going into it and what we're saying to ourselves. And not only just our self-talk, what do we allow into our minds? Maybe some unconsciously, the patterns and the habits that you create. And maybe it's some of the music that you listen to and the words that they're saying and the things that are going on. All that goes in and your brain processes it. And then it has an automatic thought of what we're going to do. So the invitation today is, what thoughts have you been repeating without realizing it? So today I just want you to start thinking as you go through your day and something comes up and you say something to yourself, what thought could you replace it with? And then we need to begin to replace it. And that's why our affirmations are so important. That's why I got to say every single morning, I walk in the favor of God. That's why we say every morning, we will not settle for things. That's why we say every morning, oh my gosh, I keep the promises that I make to myself. Because somewhere along the line, if we didn't make those promises, oh my gosh, I guess you guys are getting it. I'm so excited about this thought process and this lessons that we're going through on a daily basis. So the invitation is, what thought have you been repeating without realizing it? And then practice, write down one repeated thought to notice today so that we can begin to change it. Lord, help me to become aware of my patterns, because my thoughts turned into patterns, and my patterns became into beliefs. My beliefs became my identity, and no longer do we want the same identity. We are trying to grow. That's why we are on, we set a foundation for 90 days of what does it mean to be together in a community. Now we're jumping into, what do I need to do to change my identity? So excited about where we're going. So the short prayer today, Lord, help me become aware of my patterns. And then the blessing for today, may awareness lead to transformation. May awareness lead to translation. Some questions to think about. Do you think repeated thoughts eventually become beliefs? And I hope the answer is yes there. What kind of thoughts do people repeat without noticing? So you can think about other folks then, but I want you to think about what you're saying to yourself. And why is awareness the first step into change? Why is awareness the first step into change? And I would say it has to do with that automatic thing, auto publicity that we do on making sure we keep it auto. I'm so good at just making up stuff. So here we go. So I'm gonna put these questions in the comments. We're gonna do them. Um, Thank you, Jose. Glad that you were able to get on today. This is cool. All right. So